I am perceiving the creation with renewed conviction, deliberating over whether I'd been taught a misnomer of lies, the likes of which had formerly entrenched my educational bias towards habitation upon a spherical earth, comparison to every globe sitting atop a teacher's desk. As inheritors of the grand matrix, we as children are indoctrinated into speculative assumptions based upon a carefully crafted web of deceit. So all-consuming is my postulation that we live on a planetary globe, truly warranted. Awakening makes one question everything thought relevant, all that one had once so innocently accepted in assurance as evidentiary truth. All must be reassessed upon the certainty that there is no absolute truth when evaluating the preponderance of lies emblazoned onto our unquestioned resolve as clean child mind slate. And so once again I find myself in that zone of nihilist persuasion, reality shattered and manifest knowing shaken to the core, deliberating over what I thought seminal truth. This challenge strikes at the core of who and where we are as people, our most foundational belief of living upon a blue marble, and that we're spinning counterclockwise in a similarly rotating planetary system with angelic sun as its vibrant diamond center. We are informed that primordially ejected bodies spit out from the core of stars results in planetary accretion, and that the Earth as cosmological debris gravitationally attracted enough mass to assume orbit as planet around our sun, itself contained in another greater orbit around some grand universal center. A theoretical black hole science asserts, though no one has ever seen, of such immense pull, light cannot escape its destroying grasp. Have we all been held hostage to some secret societal Freemasonic accord, a pervasive deception so colossal that only those in the know understand planetary situation? And do the global elite celebrate such manipulation, honoring such conquest, flaunting insider knowledge and privilege, flying the United Nations flag with depiction of a flat earth holding all nations in singular, circular embrace? Near the building which best represents their assertion of power, the UN building and throne of world government and new world order. Hello friends, I'm your host Sam Garcia. This is Fallen Angels TV, and this is fourth in a series that I've done on this particular topic, and I promise to leave it alone after this particular show, unless I find some just extremely relevant and important information that I need to share with you, or I have as guests one of those individuals that is on the cutting edge of this as topic, because it seems like it is being hyped up by the mainstream as far and conspiratorial press. I mean, the mainstream alternative and conspiratorial as far as media outlets, and that for some reason, it is being brought to the forefront of the collective conscious of those that do this kind of research and this kind of investigation, and so that was one of the reasons why I myself decided to actually give it a go and to take some time to really investigate it with an open mind, suspending my former educational bias, as I mentioned in poem, and I really didn't think it would pan out to anything at all, and that I would, in the most, waste one evening or one day of research and find enough evidentiary truth to just dismiss it altogether as possibility. And so deciding to listen to my listeners and deciding to actually watch a few of the videos that they had sent me, I was led to more questions than answers. And I was compelled to do greater investigation and to spend more time on really looking into this as ample possibility. And so, and I'm also going to, just so you know, I'm going to answer the rest of the questions that you had posted in chat room that I'd never got chance to get into last show. And I have a little bit more time today, and so I'll be able to do that, as well as I want to share a few other things. Certain passages from the Scripture, which also describe what we see as a model for the earth, and those that a lot of people cite when they believe that, you know, that the Bible is talking about a round or spherical earth. And I'm also going to release today a Bible code, which I discovered, because that's one of the things that I do now whenever I get into a topic that is highly controversial and what a lot of people consider to be unscriptural, like after the publication of my fourth book, Lucifer, Father of Cain, I was led to seek out a code and actually discovered it, and not only one, but 7 matrices, which confirmed the premise of that book. And these are kind of things, you know, the whole equal letter sequencing, the mathematical code, which has to be totally divinely inspired, that is found within the Hebrew Torah. And if you don't know how all that works out, I'm not going to go into it in any great depth on this particular show, because there's so much I want to cover. But basically, it's you skip a certain amount of letters, and you put the first 5 books of the Scriptures, the Torah, the Pentateuch, all together without any space. You just run them all together in one long, just like one long sentence. And then with the use of a computer, you can get it to keyword search certain things, you know, like how we used to do those hidden crossword puzzles, not crossword puzzles, but hidden word searches in elementary school, where you would seek them out diagonally, horizontal, vertical, and that you could find, you know, certain words this way. Well, the Bible code works in similar fashion, and so I was able to find a code, and I'm going to paste a link for it, and you can pull it up for yourself. And you can also do this same research for yourself to confirm that I had indeed found it. And you can see the keywords that I searched, which in my opinion are confirmation of this as concept. And for those that have access to the chat room, I did post a link there. You can click it, and it'll take you to a website called BibleCodeWisdom.com, which allows you to search out codes without first having to download any software or buy or purchase any software. And it also allows you to not have to know Hebrew and to be able to search out codes in English, which is very relevant for individuals like myself that are not able to, decipher the Hebrew and the translations. That's not exactly true, Cersei. Cersei says you can pull a code from anything, and that's absolutely not true at all. In fact, and especially when you have multiple words, you might be able to find one or two words, and certainly there are other books that codes have been found in. But when you have a numerous number of words, you cannot find codes just in any document. But anyways, I'm not going to deliberate over that with you. But the code that I found has these keywords. And you can pull it up for yourself and look, find it. And I felt like all of these keywords are essential to this as topic. First, flat, of course, flat, earth, and then canopy, tent, because Isaiah 40 describes the earth as a circle and that the heavens, as a curtain above, and that it's like a tent. And also truth, ring, because it's my opinion that Isaiah 40, what it's describing as the circle of the earth, is a ring, not a sphere, not a globe or a ball. Which one of the things I'll also cover today is some of the Strong's Concordance on that particular passage. We'll go into that next. But ring and edge and even, like the way flat, the earth being flat or even, and also a dome, which, like tent, it describes the heavens as being spread out like a curtain, and that we are living on this disk or this plane, this flat earth plane, that the heavens are over us like a dome or a canopy, or and that the earth as a model, together with the heavens, the celestial heavens, is like a tent, as it's described in Isaiah 40. And so you can see all of these key words are similar as far as this particular topic. And usually you don't find more than 3 or 4 words in a matrix when you're searching out a Bible code. And so I believe it's very relevant that I was able to find all of these words all together in a similar, as far as proximity to each other, compiling and making this one particular matrix. And I was also able to find the word disk, but I was not. You can't fit all of these words together. But I searched out a couple other words by deleting some of these, and so that's another one that you can find with it. But the Bible Code Wisdom software only allows you to search a certain number of keywords. And so if you, once again, go to BibleCodeWisdom.com, search flat earth, canopy, tent, truth, ring, edge, even, and dome, it'll pull up. It will confirm that this matrix is found in the code, and that it overlays the Gospel of Luke, beginning chapter 13, verse 28, and is spread out as matrix from Luke 13:8 to Luke 14:4. And so I thought it was interesting. And another thing about the matrix, when you pull it up, you'll see it's not just because all the words, when you're searching for a matrix, they're all put together horizontally and then just like a line after line after line. Well, none of these words were just found horizontally. They were, you had to find them using the ELS, the equal letter sequencing. And they all go diagonal, and that there's, great distances between some of those equal letter sequencing, and some of them, just 4 or 5 letters as far as the skip sequence. But you can see how all of them are found diagonally, or if they are horizontal, they are not, side by side as in a word found in the regular scriptures as far as the Torah, but that they are encoded. So anyways, that's one of the things that I thought was very interesting about this particular subject and the study of it. Now I want to go to this Isaiah 40 and look at it a little bit closer using Strong's. And I'm also going to paste a link in the chat room because you can do the Strong's Concordance research online as well without having to have a book. Or to purchase the software or anything of that nature. The website is blueletterbible.org. Let me post that in the chat room real quick. blueletterbible.org, and it lets you search using the Strong's or other biblical tools. All right, and so looking a little bit closer at this Isaiah chapter 40, verse 21-22, the scripture that a lot of people use to confirm that the Bible, is basically describing a spherical earth, when, in my opinion, when you look at the words using the Strong's and go back to the original Hebrew, that's not what it's talking about at all. But it's actually talking about the circle of the earth as being a flat earth plane, a disc, or like a plate. All right, so let's read that and then we'll get into it a little bit further. It says this: Have ye not known, have ye not heard, hath it not been told you from the beginning? Have ye not understood from the foundations of the earth? It is he that sitteth upon the circle of the earth, and the inhabitants thereof are as grasshoppers, that stretcheth out the heavens as a curtain, and spreadeth them out as a tent to dwell in. And so I looked a little bit further into some of these words. First, the circle of the earth, which the Hebrew word for that is chûwg, chûwg, which means circle, circuit, or compass. And when there's another phrase I'm going to pull up, because I also looked for in the Hebrew a description of either a planet or a globe or a sphere, and you can't find any of those words in the Hebrew. But there is a description, and there's one verse where a ball is described, and so I'll pull that out in just a minute. But I wanted to also talk about the earth, where it says upon the circle of the earth, and earth is eretz, E-R-E-T-S in Hebrew, and it represents land or earth, but some of the descriptions of it, country, territory, district, region, tribal territory, or piece of ground. So the earth, is basically always talking about like land, ground, soil. All right, now the other, another few words that I pulled out just to give us a better understanding of what this passage is talking about is I looked into tent, and the word for tent is ohel, O-H-E-L, and it means in the Hebrew nomad's tent, symbolic of wilderness life or transience, a dwelling, home, or habitation, the sacred tent of Jehovah, or the tabernacle. Tabernacle is also another word which the Hebrew it's the same, ohel, O-H-E-L. And so when it describes here in this passage that stretcheth out the heaven as a curtain and spreadeth them out as a tent to dwell in, so the circle of the earth is meant as a, is with its heavens spread out as a curtain, is in the shape of a tent or a tabernacle, and that this is where the inhabitants of the earth dwell in, where we live and dwell in, is upon the circle on this plate. Another word that I looked a little bit into was dwell in, which the Hebrew word is yashab, Y-A-S-H-A-B, and it says to dwell, remain, sit, abide. To sit down, to be set, to remain, stay, to dwell, have one's abode, to be inhabited, a set place, to cause to sit, to cause to abide, set, to cause to dwell. And so to be inhabited, to make, to dwell. And so it's my opinion that what is being described in this passage as the circle of the earth is actually speaking about a flat earth, a disk, a flat earth plane, and that the stars or the heavens as a curtain that is spreadeth upon over, like in the Bible code I had canopy, dome, these kinds of words, that's the structure, that it's describing this flat, the earth as the foundations as a flat disk, a round circle, and that this is where we are to dwell upon, and that the heavens are spread out as a curtain above us, and that as a model it represents the tent. or a tent, or a tabernacle. All right. The only passage that you can find, because as I mentioned, there's no descriptions in the Hebrew, no words or scriptures in the Torah which describe a sphere, a globe, or a planet. But there is one that describes a ball. And it's in Isaiah chapter 22, verse 18, where it says this: He will surely violently turn and toss thee like a ball into a large country. There shalt thou die, and there the chariots of thy glory shall be the shame of thy Lord's house. And so when you look up this word ball, it's different from the word that we have as circle in Isaiah chapter 40. The word is duer, D-U-W-R, duri. And it says, the definition says, a circle, ball, or pile. Ball, turn, or round about. And so a ball and a circle is different in connotation as far as the word that is used to describe either or. And that, in my opinion, if in Isaiah chapter 40 it was meant to describe a planet or a sphere or a globe, that it would have used this word dur or duri instead of chûwg. There's a couple other passages that I want to bring up, and then I'll go into the questions that y'all had remaining from last week, as well. If you have any other questions for this week, I'll be glad to answer them. But I want to share this as well, really quick. I was part of a panel this past Thursday. I did an interview with my friend Mr. Rowe and Mark Sargent, which a lot of you who have begun to do some research into this area, you've listened to his series called the Flat Earth Clues, which he does a really good job of presenting a number of different topics which are related to the flat earth, and he talks about how it was that he came to understand this as I now have, and that another person that is really doing a lot of research and providing a lot of incredible information on this is Rob Skiba. He's done a series on this. But anyways, really important and critical information being covered by both of them. But anyways, I just posted a link in the chat room to the interview, the roundtable that I did with Mark and Mr. Rowe. I uploaded it to my YouTube site under Endeavor Freedom, and you can find it. It's called Reality Exchange, and then just keyword search Mark Sargent and Zen Garcia, and it'll come up. Those of you that know my YouTube name, my account is under Endeavor Freedom. It's the most recent upload. I just finished it like 30 minutes ago, and it is available for you to check out. All right, so I want to cover just a few more passages, and then I'll answer your questions. Just some things which I thought were interesting. All right, in Job 28, where it says, "For he looketh to the ends of the earth, and seeth under the whole heaven." I looked up "and," just to see what it says in the Hebrew, and it says end, extremity, from the whole of, from among, and of what is included between extremities. The Hebrew word for that is qatsah, Qatsah, and it means coast, corner, edge, lowest, or uttermost. And then I looked up the definition for the whole heaven, just to see what it says in the Hebrew. And it says, heaven, heaven, sky, visible heavens, sky, abode of the stars, the visible universe, the sky, the atmosphere, which is the Hebrew word for the whole heaven is shamayim, Shamayim. And so that passage is, again, kind of describing, the heavens almost like as a dome or a canopy over what would be the flat earth, and that the ends of the earth, that this would be this particular edge, or what is the what we know as Antarctica, this ice wall that encompasses the disk or the plane of the earth. And another thing, as far as what we're talking about this, one of the things that I always thought about was, how would the whole earth witness the return of Yeshua? Because it says that as the lightning spreadeth from the east to the west, all the inhabitants of the world would see the return of the Messiah. And it doesn't make sense to me if we're living on a spherical earth, and because only those that are on the portion of the earth that are facing could see the return of Christ. But if we are indeed living on a flat earth plane, on a disk, and that everybody is, able to see up into the celestial heavens, and then that makes more sense to me. All right. Here's another one that I wanted to look further into. This is from Job 38. I'm not going to read the whole passage, but it says, hast thou perceiveth the breadth of the earth? And so I looked up that word breadth to see what it says in the Hebrew, and the word is nakab, N-A-C-H-A-B, and it means a width, breadth, or broad place. And so this word breadth, or this, in my opinion, this passage, this verse 18 of Job chapter 38, hast thou perceiveth or perceived the breadth of the earth, that it's talking about the width of the earth as being, the breadth, the broad place, that it's describing it from end to end, or what would be the extremity of it is from ice, the whole circle of the earth as described in Isaiah 40, and that the Antarctic ice wall would be the limits, and that everything in between would be the broad place, the nakab, or the width. Another passage from verse 33 of Job chapter 38, where it says, Knowest thou the ordinances of heaven? Canst thou set the dominion thereof in the earth? Two words that intrigued me were ordinances and dominion. And so I looked those up in the Hebrew as well, utilizing the Strong. And again, if you want to confirm what I'm talking about here, you can go to the blueletterbible.org and just click on the Strongs as tool, and you can search out these keyword search, or search out the passages, the actual scripture, and it will show you all of the words that you can look up utilizing Strongs. And so ordinances in the Hebrew means statute, ordinance, limit, enactment, something prescribed. And the Hebrew word is chûwg, chûwgah, which means appointed, custom, manner, ordinance, site, statute. All right, the other word, thou set the dominion thereof. Dominion in the Hebrew means jurisdiction, rule, authority. And the Hebrew word is mishtar, M-I-S-H-T-A-R. And, again, it just means the dominion. So, knowest thou the ordinances, the limits, or the statute of heaven? And canst thou set the dominion, the jurisdiction thereof in the earth? All right, just a couple more, and then I'll get to the actual questions, and I'll also answer questions if you have some for today. In Psalm 104, I just want to share with you the passage, the scripture of Psalm 104, because I thought this was interesting too in the way that it is described. It says, "Bless the Lord, O my soul, O Lord my God. Thou art very great, thou art clothed with honor and majesty, who coverest thyself with light as with a garment, who stretchest out the heaven like a curtain, who layeth the beams of his chambers in the waters, who maketh the clouds his chariot, who walketh upon the wings of the wind, who maketh his angels spirits, his ministers a flaming fire, who laid the foundations of the earth, that it should not be removed forever. Thou coverest it with the deep as with a garment. The waters stood above the mountains. At thy rebuke they fled. At the voice of thy thunder they hasted away. They go up by the mountains, they go down by the valleys unto the place which thou hast founded for them. Thou hast set a bound that they may not pass over, that they turn not again to cover the earth." This was after the flood, and that the water was given its limits, and that it was also drained to where it was to be held, its chambers. But a couple things that were interesting about this passage was when it says, "Who laid the foundations of the earth, that they should not be removed forever." That kind of implies to me that the foundations of the earth are immovable. and that that the land is not moving. And the last, thou hast set a bound that they may not pass over, that they turn not again to cover the earth. That this could be talking about the Antarctic ice wall as a limit for the oceans and the waters of the earth, that they are not able to breach this particular limit, and that they are all contained therein. Okay, another one that I thought was interesting is Psalms 109. Oh no, Psalm 19, where it says this: The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. Day unto day uttereth speech, and night unto night showeth knowledge. There is no speech nor language where their voice is not heard. Their line is gone out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. In them hath he set a tabernacle for the sun, which is as a bridegroom coming out of his chamber, and rejoiceth as a strong man to run a race. His going forth is from the end of the heaven, and his circuit unto the ends of it, and there is nothing hid from the heat thereof. All right, and so this is interesting. This passage was interesting in that it talks about the sun as having to live in the tabernacle, in a tabernacle over the earth, and that the sun goes forth from the end of the heaven, and his circuit, a circuit like a revolution, unto the ends of it, and there is nothing hid from the heat thereof. And so I looked up that as far as the world and also the circuit that is being described as far as the movement of the sun, and if it's contained within this tabernacle, that the tabernacle is like a tent in like a dwelling place, much like what is described in Isaiah chapter 40. And those that understand the flat earth and the description of it and how the sun and the moon work, and that they are going in a circuit above it, that where the sun is, depending on which portion it is shining over the earth, the other portion is in darkness, and that where the edge of that darkness is, that this creates what we see as sunrise or sunset, but that it is not creeping up over the edge of the earth, but that we are seeing it become visible as far as our perspective of where we are on the earth, because the light of the sun in its revolution or as its circuit is actually reaching us. But that the sun and the moon remain above and moving in a circuit, in a revolution above the flat earth plane. Alright, so I looked up the word for world, and let me see where it says that their line has gone out through all the earth, and the words to the end of the world. In them hath he set a tabernacle for the sun. And so the end of the world, which again would be the ice wall, the outer limits of the disk or the flat earth plane, and that the sun, the tabernacle or the dwelling place of the sun is within the, the outer limits, which would place it on the interior of this flat Earth plane, and that it spirals from the Tropic of Cancer to the Tropic of Capricorn, which is basically the middle, the equatorial region, which, if you are looking at the UN map or the flat Earth plane, would be the middle portion. So it takes a circuit which keeps it around the middle portion of the flat Earth plane, but that it moves up and down according to the movement from the Tropic of Cancer or the Tropic of Capricorn, depending on the seasons. All right, and so the word for world, Strong's definition is Tebel, T-E-B-E-L, and it means the earth as moist and therefore inhabited. By extension, the globe by implication, which I don't believe that it is actually implying that. But of course, most everybody believes that we live on a globe. Its inhabitants, specifically a particular land, as Babylonia or Palestine. So that's the word for world. Again, the tabernacle is like a tent, a nomad's tent, symbolic of wilderness life, transience, dwelling, home, habitation. So the tabernacle of the sun is a dwelling, a home, habitation. And circuit, this is an interesting word. Circuit in the Hebrew is really difficult word to say. Tekufa, T-Q-U-W-P-H-A-H, and it means coming round, circuit of time or space, a turning, circuit at the circuit, a revolution of the sun, a course, time lapse, a circuit, coming about or end. And so, in my opinion, this passage is describing the revolution of the sun over the flat Earth plane, which is again described as a tent, and that it is within the confines of the limits, the ends of the world, which are again this Antarctic ice wall, and that this is exactly, if you understand what I'm talking about, this is exactly how the sun and the moon spin over the flat Earth plane, according to the description that is also given to us in Isaiah chapter 40. Now, I want to revisit real quick the Bible code that I shared with you and why it was that I selected those particular keywords. Because in my opinion, and I'm about to get to your questions and your commentary, in my opinion, these keywords absolutely embody what we are talking about and the model of the earth, if indeed we are living on a flat earth. That there would be a canopy, as described in Isaiah 40, and that our domain, our dwelling place, that the shape of the flat earth as a disk with the heavens spread out as a curtain above it, that it would take the shape of a tent or a canopy and dome, and that, again, flat earth, even that, the Earth being flat and flat all the way to the horizon, that even with the way that water always assumes a flat, it's its nature to assume a flat orientation, and that the oceans, when there's no wind, or a lake, when everything is calm, it will be perfectly flat to the horizon, and that it would be even, and that the description of the Earth as a circle was the reason I chose ring as one of the keywords, and that the ends of the Earth, or the end of the world, that this would be represented by the edge. And so those keywords, flat, Earth, canopy, tent, as well as truth, because I wanted to know whether this was truth or not, ring, edge, even, and dome, all of them, in my opinion, as matrix, I believe, confirm this as premise. And so, let me now go to the chat room. And for those that are just now joining us, what I was describing with those keyword searches was the using BibleCodeWisdom.com, that particular website, the Bible code that I found in connection to this as topic. All right, so let me go now to the questions y'all have. All right. One second, I'm posting this and then I will get to them. All right, the new ones. All right, let me look first at the commentary that y'all are sharing now. See if there's anything of relevance. All right. Looking over the commentary. Somebody did say that, if all of this information coming out now, if it is part of some end time deception, and if it is, why would the elites be doing that? And I have no idea, because in my opinion the deception is the other way, that they are trying to convince us that we live on a globe, and that all of are living in the Goldilocks zone, and all of that came out as just random perchance happening, and that there's no real special covenant between the Creator and humanity, and that we're just one of those random things that happen, and that there are millions of other worlds out there where there's life, because a planet happens to be in that same Goldilocks zone, a certain distance away from the sun, and that as a deception serves better to convince us that we are indeed not special, and that again, there's no special covenant with the Creator, and that we just, also that we just evolved of apes, we evolved of monkeys, or that the fallen angels, these ancient aliens, they were the ones that manipulated our DNA, or that having crossbred with some monkey somewhere, that we were the result of that hybridization, or some genetic experimentation or whatever, and that they are the real benefactors, the real creators of humanity, and that there's no God, that the round Earth or the spherical Earth or the global Earth, in my opinion, it serves more as far as they're getting us to buy into other aspects of evolution or things of that nature, and now this whole ancient alien theology and belief, that serves a greater purpose than the flat Earth. Why would they now be trying to convince us that we live on a flat Earth, and how would that play into the Great Deception? It's my opinion that this information coming forth now is part of the Spirit being poured out on all flesh, and then all the secrets coming to light. All right. Question from Melly or Myrrh. What I would like to know is, if the Earth is flat, how does this change the countries of the end times? And I think that's a good question. And from what I understand, supposedly on the global map, they show Greenland as being as big as Africa, but supposedly in truth, that Greenland is only like 1/8 of the size of Africa, and that Africa is much larger as a continent, and that their theft and their decimation of the peoples there in Africa, that one of the reasons they show that in that way is to not, I guess, have people be as concerned, or if it was a larger area or bigger proportion of the earth and the resources, not for sure, but that might be one of the reasons. Also, Murr says, I should have said the references to the Northeast as nations rise against nation. If they change this info, what areas of the earth have they changed? I think even whether it's a round earth or a flat earth, that the way, of course, if the earth is not coming to a point in the way that it's portrayed in the South Pole, that the way that the flat earth map is oriented, there is some difference, especially if you are in the southern hemispheres. But as far as the northern hemisphere and the countries that are in the northern hemisphere, it's all still really similar. But that if there was a global war and you were wanting to invade Australia from, say Chile or Antarctica, that you might have to consider the logistics, that it would be a much longer process and that the distance would be greater. But other than that, I don't really see how it would be much difference. Another question. I keep coming from Seriously. I keep coming back to the show because I find it fascinating that someone that owes their very existence to the physics of a round world can believe it's flat. I don't know what you are meaning. The physics of a round world. You'll have to bring clarification, because I went into the study of this in order to debunk the flat earth as premise. And I totally did not believe it. In fact, when I was in college, I studied astronomy as my science. And I understood the movements of the heavens, or at least I thought the movements of the heavens and the way that the moon, how it is that the different phases of the moon, I totally believe that all that was created because of the Earth spinning around the sun. And the way that they explain it in astronomy, it absolutely explains what we are observing and what we are seeing. But the way that I understand it now, as our living on a flat Earth, also explains it. And that, there's different premises that it can be described in different ways. But again, going back to some of the things that made me realize or helped me to understand that what we had been taught as living on a globe, that first, the curvature of the Earth, and how the experiments that have been done by scientists going back to the 1800s, that you can, even with like being able to see a lighthouse 60 miles out, according to the way that the curvature of the Earth is supposed to play out on a global or a spherical Earth, the spherical trigonometry, that you should not be able to see a lighthouse or a cityscape or even like the Statue of Liberty from such a great distance, that it should be, according to the curvature of the Earth, it should be so far below the horizon that you would not be able to see it. And this has been proven, this has been debunked. People can see the Statue of Liberty for up to 60 miles away, that cityscapes, both in going opposite directions, like there's a point where people can see 60 miles away the cityscape of Philadelphia, and in the opposite direction the cityscape of New York City, and at that distance they should be so far below the horizon that at least they appear that the buildings should be leaning away from the observer, and that portions of what can be seen should be below the horizon and not be visible. And so these were things, this was just one thing that made me realize, it helped me to understand that we're not living on a global Earth. The other things were some of the videos, these weather balloon videos and rocket, the GoPro videos of rocket launches on the outside of these boosters, and how no matter how high you go up, the Earth remains level and flat and completely level all the way to the horizon. And the other thing is if we're on a Earth that is spinning 1,000 miles an hour to the east at the equator, how is it that you can get in a plane and fly at 500 miles an hour east and end up in an hour 500 miles away? And the same goes for flying west, when if we're spinning on an Earth at 1,000 miles an hour, you shouldn't be able to catch up with the Earth because it is spinning faster, and you would actually, if you were flying to the east at 500 miles an hour, you would lose distance. And that if you were flying to the west and the Earth was spinning, say you're flying 500 miles an hour, and the Earth is spinning 1,000 miles an hour the other way, if you are in the air for an hour, you should be at least 1,500 miles away, going west, because the Earth is spinning 1,000 miles that way, and you spent 500 miles an hour going an hour away towards the west. All of that doesn't make sense, and it doesn't add up that way, because the way that it is, if you fly 500 miles an hour towards the west, you end up 500 miles away. And of course, there is some discrepancy because of the wind shear and the way that the winds, according to the wind, but for the most, there's not a huge difference. And there should be a huge difference if we are living on a spinning Earth. And then the other thing is these centrifugal forces. It should be totally different from living at the equator than living at the North Pole. Those are just some of the things. And then there was many scientific experiments that were done by scientists that prove that you could see, like this one experience of a boat that was watched going 6 miles out, and that at every mile, at the first mile, it should have been 8 inches below the horizon, that it was able to be seen clearly all the way going 6 miles out on this flat canal, and every portion of the boat was seen. There are other videos, and you can find these all on YouTube too, of people that show that the whole debate that they say proves that we live on a globe, and that a boat will disappear from the bottom until finally the mass disappears because of the curvature of the Earth. But with these high-powered telescopes and also high-powered cameras with extraordinary now zoom lenses, they have proved that that is absolutely false, and that does not happen. That you can see the entirety of the boat, that portion of it that is above the water line, all the way out miles and miles and miles away, and that no portion of it disappears below the horizon. And that does not happen on if we are living on a curved Earth. Let me check the chat room once again. Oh, here's another thing, because somebody says, Murr said, my hubby was listening and said if you stand on the Arctic Circle, you watch the sun go around and you will be convinced. I'm not sure of what you would be convinced at. But you can also, at different portions of the year, you can see the sun actually in its full circuit, what we were talking about in that one passage in the Scripture, and it stays above the horizon for 24 hours at a time. And how is that possible if we are living on a spherical Earth, and we're at this 23-degree incline, and that at some point we are going to be on the opposite side, or that portion of the Earth which is in darkness. If we are living on a spherical Earth, there's no possibility of our being able to see the sun in its full revolution, in its complete circuit, without it ever dipping below the horizon. And yet there are absolutely there's videos you can find on YouTube where they show this. And what happens is that you will see the sun at its lowest point. It reaches the horizon when it is directly south. But where it's supposed to set in the west and rise in the east, this doesn't happen because the sun stays above the horizon, and you see it nearing its closest point on the horizon when it reaches all the way south. And then it rises again, and in its full circuit, it remains above the horizon. And you just could not do that on a spinning, a spherical Earth. Link says, I just find it very difficult to believe everyone on the International Space Station is lying and all the data and photos are fake. I absolutely thought the same thing. But if you look a little bit into some of the International Space Station footage and how it has been hoaxed, what you find is that there are videos where you see air bubbles coming up, as well as scuba divers in like inside the or swimming around what is supposed to be space. There was an actual scuba diver with a scuba diver tank on his back that was seen in the footage, or you see these air bubbles that are rising up, and which would not happen in space. And so why would they be faking any of the footage at all? And there was another video that I showed that I posted on my website where supposedly there was being, it was a spacewalk, and they were doing some work on the International Space Station, and it was showing the sun rising over what was supposedly the edge of the Earth, and then all of a sudden, click, the full Earth became visible. And then there was another portion of the video where the Earth disappears, the entire Earth disappeared, and what we come to realize from both of those projections in the video that was shown of live as the supposed spacewalk is that the Earth, or the appearance, or what is supposedly below the space station, this was a green screen, and that the movement of the Earth across it, it was giving us, the viewer, the illusion that they were in space. And this is just, two of the many different incidences and different videos that are out there which NASA themselves hoax. Why would they hoax any of it if all of this were true? And if the International Space Station indeed existed and that was going on, why would they have to hoax any of it? And then if you look into the depiction of, the Apollo, whichever 11, I think it was, how they were showing us the Earth as a globe, how they faked that using the porthole of the inside of the lunar module, and that they were much closer to the Earth, but that the astronaut got in between the video of the supposed round Earth and the camera that was shooting the video. Why would they fake that? And also the supposed lunar landings. There's many videos that have been released that show that there's multiple light sources and there's shadows where there should not be shadows, and all of that has been faked. There's images of the supposed Earth rise, or the portion of the Earth in the background of a Apollo photo, and it's been photoshopped. you can actually see the cutout that has been pasted in. And so all these things, in my opinion, I don't believe NASA at all. Why are they hoaxing any of it? And if they're hoaxing any of it, should we believe them at all? And it's not difficult. Go to YouTube and just type in ISS or NASA hoax, or the moonwalk, or lunar landing, Apollo and lunar landing hoaxes, and you'll find so much evidence which verifies that they hoaxed it. And not only, I talked about how the Apollo, how they faked the supposed image of, or the image of the Earth as a globe. There was a video that was not supposed to be released to the public, which talks the NASA astronauts are talking on a back channel to Houston, and they're talking about how they're hoaxing it. And so I'm not making these things up. Go look them up for yourself. I didn't believe any of this. In fact, before I began this investigation, I had believed that we had gone to the moon. And I believed the NASA, that the astronauts had gone to the moon. I didn't believe any of that had been hoaxed until I found and viewed the videos of the hoaxing taking place. Now, I realize that some of you in the chat room have gotten mad at me, or that I've ruffled your feathers, but I didn't believe these things, and I'm not asking you to believe me. I'm asking you to do your own homework, to go and look these things up for yourself, because I didn't believe it either until I saw for myself. Link says, but how do we know that these videos talking about the hoaxes aren't hoaxes themselves? Because they're using official NASA video, and you can see the hoax taking place in the NASA videos. And these are videos that you can even find on NASA websites. I mean, these are things that NASA has released themselves. So, people don't have to make up hoaxes to confirm that NASA is hoaxing it. They're doing it themselves. And so, even with satellites, I totally believe satellites existed. Then I, looked up the temperature of the thermosphere that supposedly satellites are flying in, and with the components that they are supposed to be made out of, they can't exist in the thermosphere. They can't be orbiting in the thermosphere. And so these are things, and then look up, look for images, look for videos of the Earth from space. They're non-existent. Or look for, and Rob Skiba has done great work on this, where he shows official NASA images of the supposed spherical global Earth from space, and the size of the continents are different. In one image, you have huge, where the North American continent is much bigger than in a different official NASA image, or where they have pasted the same cloud formation over and over into a supposed composite image of the Earth from space. So, these things exist, and they're easy to find out there. And if you did any kind of real research for yourself, you'll find the same things that I did. I didn't believe this at first. I totally thought this was all just a waste of time. And I now, having looked into it for several weeks now, I find too many lies and no real. I mean, if we have all these satellites, all these hundreds of satellites up there, how come we don't have just tons of video of the Earth from space in complete rotation and, going from night and day over and over? And how come there's not thousands of these videos if this is indeed what's happening? And it's so easy to, because if they have the capacity and that all this technology, all these satellites exist, why not show us the videos? Why not show us images? And, the images that they've already shown us, the videos already shown us, when they turn out to be fakes and forgeries and hoaxes, why should we believe NASA? We shouldn't. And so that's where I am with all of that. Link says, I think it's great what you're doing. It takes a very strong person to stand up and expose and say things that go against everything we've ever been led to believe. Yeah, it is no easy task, sister. And I didn't want to be the one to come out against all this. I was one of those that made fun of the flat earthers. Even my Revolution radio show, I didn't even realize, but I was making fun of the flat earthers in my opening poem. And it wasn't until I come to discernment on this that I realized that, I'm making fun of myself. Link asked me, do you believe there was life on Mars and ancient worlds? And I still believe that as well until I can, otherwise. I still believe that some of what we see, some of the images, things that have been released, and again, I don't know if these are forgeries, the face and Mars, things of that nature. I believe that the rebel angels in here, even on this earth, from what we see, that the megalithic structures were created by them, that the cities that we see at the bottom of the oceans, confirmed and that have been found, artifacts have been pulled up from the bottom of the ocean. And these structures were created at a time when we were hunter-gatherers as far as pre-Adamic humanity. We couldn't have achieved those kind of things, and especially not, we can't even now replicate the creation of these megalithic sites. And so I absolutely still believe that there are things to this. And another question from Link, do you think that the planets are balls? I have to believe that they are, but I don't believe that the Earth is anymore. But until I know different and better, I'm still learning things. I haven't ironed out everything. I'm still up in arms as far as trying to, even the things that I had learned in the past, I'm still weighing it out. I'm still trying to, come to discernment on how much of it is lies and how much of it isn't. And why it is that they had to lie about this in the first place. And, it has been no easy task because even the people that, gave me credibility, whatever that is, as far as my work in conspiracies that I've brought forth and, in all of my books, they think I'm totally far out there now and have gone past the breaking point in looking into this as topic and in doing the shows that I've done on it. But, I'm just a truth seeker, and I want to know what the truth is no matter what. And if this indeed is the mother of all conspiracies, I want to know why it has been propagated, why we have been led into believing this web of deceit. And so I know I've lost a lot of listeners and a lot of over this topic, but you know, I stand with God and I stand with truth. I'll talk to you all next week, and I believe that the reason I found the Bible code, you know, is just further confirmation of this as topic. We're going to be going into ancient, some of the ancient scriptures and some of the canonical, extra biblical books beginning again next week. God bless all. Good night.